By this point, you've probably already seen a whole bunch of videos on this new Galaxy Z TriFold. So what else is there to say? I mean, it's just a Galaxy Fold 7 Pro Max, right? You've got an extra hinge, you've got a bigger tablet screen, but also the cost of being a lot thicker, a lot heavier, and also a whole lot more expensive. While we don't have final pricing on this because it's only launching in select markets, it's going to roughly translate to about $2,500 to $3,000. Very few people are actually going to buy this, and I went into my little hands-on session with Samsung honestly being quite skeptical. But you know what? Galaxy Z TriFold, even if I can't buy it, even if it'll never launch in the UK, or at least this first generation, I want one. And actually, it answers the question I've had about folding phones for, well, 5, 6, 7 years now. Because as technically impressive as, say, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is, in my experience, it's not fundamentally different to just using a regular phone. You just have a slightly larger and squarer screen. However, with the TriFold, look how much more screen space you get. This is a 10-inch 16:11 display. And if you're watching videos, if you're watching movies, it's not just a little bit bigger. This change to the aspect ratio makes the TriFold an actual proper tablet. The TriFold with 3 apps side by side, and if you fancied a 4th floating one as well, this is actually usable. This is not a folding phone, this is a folding tablet, and it's the first properly good one I've ever used. Let's not forget Huawei was first, but this is the first TriFold to have, let's say, a 120Hz screen, Galaxy Play services, the promise of 7 generations of OS updates, and also a proper flagship chip. This uses the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. Same one that you'd find in the S25 Ultra or the Fold 7. Yes, it's nearly a year old, but in terms of tablets and foldables, it's still cutting edge. I don't want to labor the point, but it's this aspect ratio, the 16:11, that just makes all the difference compared to any regular fold. And everything else is pretty much borrowed from the Fold 7, the camera system with the 200 megapixel main camera and the fairly average ultra-wide and telephoto as well, together with the 2 selfie cameras, and you're getting 512 gigs or a terabyte of storage, 16 gigs of memory across the board, and a pretty good sized battery. It's not the biggest in the world because Samsung still refused to use silicon carbon chemistry for the batteries, but it's the biggest one they've put in a folding device, and it's actually split into 3 cells. And they've still crammed in wireless charging, we get 45-watt wired charging. At its thinnest point, it's just 3.9 millimeters, which is incredible. And then when closed, it's 12.9, which is a pretty chunky phone for 2026. But bear in mind, it's still thinner than the Galaxy Fold 5 was. And there's no getting away from the weight. It's over 300 grams, which means if you're just using it like a regular phone with the cover screen, which is basically the same 6.5-inch, 120Hz, 21:9 screen you get on the Fold 7, there's no escaping the fact it is a chunky monkey. But opened up, it is a very sleek tablet. It's also worth mentioning there is no S Pen support with the TriFold, which is a bit of a shame. Basically, there's no digitizer layer to help keep the phone thin, very much like the Fold 7. And I've got to say, the creases, the 2 creases on the screen were not nearly as bad as I expected. You can see them if you move it around and find a light source behind you, but actually running your finger over it, it's a lot less noticeable than I was expecting. The TriFold also comes in any color you like, as long as it's this carbon black. That's the only option. And the whole thing is a bit of a fingerprint magnet. I would also love if they could put that anti-reflective coating we get on the S25 Ultra on their flips and folds, especially this guy. Because together with the 2 creases and also the slightly dimmer internal screen, it actually tops out at 1600 nits versus 2600 on the outer cover screen, and the very reflective, very fingerprinty and smudgy screen, it could look better. But it's this stuff that reminds me why I love doing this job. I just get to play with the coolest It's like watching a review of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari on Top Gear. You're never going to buy one, but that doesn't make it any less interesting, and in this case even I'd say any less cool. Samsung has done a terrific job with this first generation TriFold, because obviously they've had quite a few years perfecting the regular folds. The biggest question, of course, is durability. How will this hold up over the next few months? If you saw Mr. Who's the Boss Aaron's video, you'll have seen the screen protector get really buffed up. But it is just that, it's a screen protector, and you can actually peel it off without damaging the phone. And if you do buy a TriFold, Samsung will replace the protector for free. And they do also say each of the two hinges has been tested for 200,000 actions. And we get the same IP48 water and dust resistance as the regular Fold 7. So I went in skeptical, but I came out actually really excited for the TriFold. I can't wait to see what they do next. And fingers crossed for them to launch it in more markets. But what do you reckon? If you could buy a Galaxy Z TriFold, would you? Let me know what you make of this in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.